So let's start. So since all of you guys are using your Texas Instruments, I'll just be talking about that for today. If for whatever reason, let's say next you decide to change your calculators, the HP12C is also included in this presentation. And I believe you'll get a copy of this PowerPoint slide, and you can just follow it on your own. The idea is exactly the same, and the PowerPoint is very intuitive. You just have to follow it stroke by stroke, right? Okay, so yeah. So let's talk about your calculators for now. Okay, so your calculators are very straightforward actually. The idea is very simple. You just have to plug in variables that you know, right? Variables that were given to you by the exam. And if you plug in enough variables and you plug them in correctly, right? Then it's simply a matter of pressing the right button to call up the variable that you need. So kumbaga, it's just inputting values and then calling out the numbers that you need. So it's that straightforward. So the thing that you need to know, one of the most important things about your calculator, right, is how to reset your calculators, right? Why? Because again, as I said, your calculator stores information in them. That's how they compute your answers. Okay, so what I mean by that is that if, for example, let's say you're inputting, let's say the interest rate at 10%, the number of years at 5, and so on and so forth. When you input them, it stores them in the calculator, and using those inputted variables, it calculates your desired result. Now, the potential issue with this is that, let's say you're in question 1, you input some variables, and now you go to question number 2, right? If you don't reset your calculators, if you don't clear these variables that are in memory, right, it will affect your calculation for the second variable, for the second question. You get it? So even if, for example, on the second question, you press the keys exactly right, but for some reason you forgot to reset your calculators, you will get the wrong answer. Not 100% guaranteed, but there's a very good chance you'll be getting the wrong answer. Okay, got it? Okay, so how do we reset our calculators? Again, I'll just be talking about Texas Instruments. Again, if I'm forgetting anybody, just speak out if I need to talk about the HP12C. But as far as I can remember, everybody's using Texas Instruments. So how do we reset our calculators? Everybody, guys, all of you who have your calculators with you, do it with me. Okay. So turn it on. So when it's on, okay, press second. This one here. This, can you see my pointer? Second, okay, and then sorry, and then reset. This one at the bottom, and then enter. Okay. What do you guys see? Guys, yung mga naka-unmute, what do you guys see when you press it?
RSP.
Okay, sige. So that's it. If you see that, that means you've done it correctly. Okay? So my advice is reset your calculators at the end of every question. Automatic na. Once you entered your answer in the exam, whether by shading or if it's online by clicking, whatever, reset your calculators. Okay, so, and for example, let's say you're solving for a problem, and let's say for some reason you can't arrive at the right answer because it's multiple choice, right? You can't seem to arrive at the right answer. Then maybe there's already an inputted variable that's messing up your calculation. So if you can't really get the right answer, reset it again. Just always reset it as often as you want. Okay. Yeah, so that's how you reset your calculators. Okay, so that's the most important thing that you need to remember. Okay, next one. How, again, guys, if you have any questions, feel free to stop me at any time. Just speak out. Okay. Okay, so next one, how to change the number of decimal places. As you can probably see, the default, hopefully everybody reset your calculator, right? The default is 2 decimal places. Okay, of course, if for example your question, the question involves answers with 3 decimal places. So for example, the choices are 1.001, 1.002, 1.003. For example, it's probably not going to happen, but let's say if it happens, then your calculator will only show you 1.00, right? You don't know which one is which, right? So you can obviously change the number of decimal places, and this is how you do it, okay? So press second format. So second format, do it with me, guys. So second format, right? Input the number of decimal places like 5 or 6 or 3 or 8, right? Then press enter. Got it, guys? Yung mga ayaw magsalita, also what you can do is that you can click your thumbs up icon there, diba? At the lower right. Try to look for it. So just click your thumbs up. So it's helpful again for me if I'm asking generally if you can follow. Yeah, thank you, Min and Owen, yeah, for pressing it. Okay, thank you. Okay, so if you can press it, that's very good, right? At any if whenever I'm asking if you got a particular result, then just click it if you want. If you have a question, if you're not getting it, if you want to ask me, please feel free. Okay. Okay. Now.
Question.
Yes.
What's the recommended number of decimal places?
Okay. Very good. Very good. Exactly where I'm going next. But I wasn't sure who asked that question, so sorry about that. Okay. So, sige. What's the recommended? Of course, recall a while ago, I said that my recommendation is for you to reset your calculators at the end of every question, right? So it's gonna be very cumbersome if every time you reset, you're changing the number of decimal places. So my recommendation is you have for as much as possible, try to use just 2 decimal places. For most of the time, it's gonna be completely sufficient. Okay, 2 decimal places. The final answer won't have that small variation, 1.001, 1.002, 1.0. It's very rare that would happen. Actually, in my experience, I haven't seen one yet. But I just want to say it's not going to happen because it's theoretically possible, right? So, but it's very rare. Okay, so, but what happens if what will you do if it happens, right? Then if you want, then let's say let's say you already computed it and then you saw 1.00, then at that point, right, you can change it. Okay, you change it at that point only. Don't change it every time you reset it because that's going to be time consuming, right? You're going to waste several seconds every time you reset. So only change it when you need it. Another option is, and this is what I personally do. Okay, so if you can follow, this is advisable, but if you can't follow, that's okay. What I personally do is, for example, again, if I'm, let's say my calculator showing me 1.00, okay, and my choices are 1.001, 1.002, 1.003, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna multiply. So okay, my calculator is showing me 1.00. I'm gonna press times 100 or times 10, right? Maybe I'll do times 100 just to be sure, right? I'm gonna do times 100, and therefore what it would do is that it would take my number 1.00, right, and multiply that by 100, right? And therefore I'm gonna see something like 100.2, hopefully, or 100.3 or 100.1. Then whatever I see, I know that's the correct answer. Of course, adjusting the 100 factor. Does that make sense, guys? Thumbs up, please, if that makes sense. Okay. Okay. Thank you. Again, if you follow that perfect. You don't have to remember how to change the number of decimal places anymore, because again, one of our objectives in the review class is to minimize as much memorization as possible. Okay, if the less things we need to keep in our heads, right, the better, right? Because there's literally again hundreds of formulas that you're gonna be encountering, not to mention the other trivial stuff or the other definitional memorization that you need to do, right? So there's hundreds of things that you need to know. So if you can forget about this slide, then all is well, right? One other thing I'd like to note, no? Okay, diba? I said that it's very rare for you to need more than 2 decimal places. There's one caveat though, okay? That's only true if you know how not to round off incorrectly. What do I mean by this? Okay, for example, let's say you have a question, okay? There's 2 steps to a question, to the problem, to solve it, okay? Let's say question number 1 is, let me do this. I think we have enough time naman for today, so let's do this. So hopefully you can appreciate what I'm saying. I'm gonna share my Excel file now. Share. Can you guys see my Excel?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. All right. So let's say the problem is a 2-step problem. It asks you to first, let's say, do 3 divided by so 3 divided by, how do I do it? I don't know, 7, for example. That didn't turn out well. Okay. So 3 divided by 7, right? So let's say that's the first step. You had to divide 3 by 7, right? Right? Got it, guys? And then you need to take that number, and then let's say you need to calculate another set of steps first, and then you need, so let's say the other steps is 5 times 2 or whatever. Let's do 5 times 2 here. That's the second step. And then the last step is you need to combine them, right? You need to, let's say, multiply this with this. For example, the first number with the second number. So what I'm talking about is, if, for example, you did this one first, the first thing first, 3 divided by 7, and then, of course, your calculator would show you 2 decimal places, right? 0.43. But we know it's not really 0.43, it's 0.4285714, right? So, but the calculator would show you 0.43. Got it? So, what some of you might do is that you're gonna write 0.43 on your paper, right? So you're gonna do, okay, that's the first step. I got 0.43 using my calculator. So I'm gonna manually write 0.43 on my paper, right? And then I'm gonna solve the next one. I got 10, and then I'm gonna multiply 0.43 by 10. Got it, guys? So my final answer is 4.30, right? But hopefully it's clear, right? But in the process of doing what you did, you essentially rounded off this number over here, right? Where in reality, in fact, the precise answer is, if we do it without rounding off, it's, and I'm gonna use 2 decimal places. It's, oh, sorry, I didn't multiply. I'm just using Excel now because obviously I can show you my calculator. But yeah, so the final answer is 4.2. Actually, it's not even 4.286. But what you're gonna get from your calculator is 4.300. So there's a chance here the answer is not far off, but there's a chance that it could be farther off, right? Depending on the nature of the steps. Okay, so what brought about this problem again? This is brought about by incorrectly rounding off this number over here from 42857 to 2.43. Get it, guys? So what am I saying? Again, what am I saying? Again, if you're gonna go with the default 2 decimal places, which is highly encouraged, I highly encourage it. If you're gonna go with 2 decimal places, be very, very, very careful when you're rounding off numbers. When do you unconsciously round off numbers? When you write it down on paper, right? So again, if you really need to do so, for example, I really don't know how to do this without rounding off, right? Then my suggestion is you change the number of decimal. For example, you're seeing 0.43, right? But that's only a round off. In your calculator, it's storing more than 2 decimal places, but it's just showing you 2 decimal places. So what you can do is that you change the number of decimal places first, is change it to 5 first, and then you write it down if you really need to. So I'm going to write down 0.42857. That's what I'm going to use. So at least it makes you much more precise. Or you can change it up, or you can multiply it by, again, let's say 43.43. Guys, are you still following? Guys, okay, thank you. Or you can, let's say, multiply it by 1,000. So I know it's 0.42857, right? Right? If I multiply. So therefore, I can be more precise. Or better yet, this is what I advise, try to learn the skill of using your calculators without writing down numbers. That's the best, that's the most ideal of all. Meaning, if you need to do this, don't do it in 2 different steps. Do it in 1 continuous step. Right? So I will just do equals for this one because this one is easy, right? But for some of the questions, maybe tomorrow or next week, it's gonna take a little more skill. But again, the idea is you do it 1 continuous step. So equals 3 divided by. Do you see it while I'm typing, guys? Before I press the enter, can you see it? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Thank you. So equals 3 divided by 7 times 5 times 2, for example. So do it in 1 continuous step. So you're not rounding off. Okay? So this is the ideal one. Okay? But if you really need to write down, again, write down with more precision. More decimal places. Right? Got it, guys? So ang haba ng ano ko for that one. Questions, guys, so far? I don't know how I'm doing. Okay. Questions? None? Okay, let's continue. Okay, so again, long story short, let's try to do with 2 decimal places as much as we can. Okay? Kung magkakamali kayo, if ever you're gonna make a mistake, let's make the mistake during the review, not during the exam. Okay? Oops. Sino yun? Okay. Sige. Now let's go to the next slide. Okay. Choosing the calculation methods. Okay. In your calculator, the Texas Instruments, there's 2 calculation methods available. It's the chain method and the Aos method, algebraic method. Okay. So you have to know what's the difference between the 2, because you might be thinking that your calculator is doing the other thing, but your calculator is doing something else. Okay, so what are the 2 methods of? Okay, let's do this first because I don't want to shift back and forth. Let's do this first. Let's change the calculation methods first before I show you the difference. Okay, so everybody again, do it with me. Press second format. What do you guys see? Unmute, guys. What do you guys see when you press second format?
Decimal.
What do you see on the screen?
Decimal.
A decimal. But that's how we changed the number of decimal places a while ago, right? Press down 4 times. What do you see?
THN.
THN. Very good. The default, I'm assuming everybody reset their calculator. The default is the chain method. Okay, so now press second set. Second and then set. This one. Second and then everybody do it with me. I'm going about this very slow. If we need to extend, we will extend. I don't mind. Sorry, Trisha. Yeah. So what do you see when you press second set once?
AOS.
Okay. And then AOS, that's for algebraic system. And then press second set again if you want to go back to CHN. Got it, guys?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So that's how you move from CHN to AOS. Okay. Now, obviously, you might be able to guess what's my recommendation. My recommendation is that just to stick with CHN because that's the default. Again, we don't want to change the setting every time we reset the calculator. So let's just try to learn how to use the chain method. Okay. So what's the difference? Now I'm going to go back to my Excel. Okay. So what's the difference between the two? Okay. Can you see my Excel? Okay, thank you. Thank you. Okay. Okay, so for example, you press 1 plus 2 times 3. Right? That's the thing that you're pressing in your calculator. Okay, in that particular order, in that exact order, 1 plus 2 times 3. Under the chain method, right? It's gonna calculate as you type. So it's gonna do 1 plus 2 first, right? And then, so which is obviously 3, and then it's gonna do 3 times 3, which is obviously 9. Okay, so again, if you input 1 plus 2 times 3, it's gonna give you 9. Now, under the AOS method, this is the one that you're familiar with in school, right? So exact same keystroke, right? It's gonna compute as if, so it's gonna compute first the multiplication one, so M dash rule, right? So it's gonna do 1. This is the same as 1 plus 2 times 3. It's gonna be the same as that. So that's gonna give you 2 times 3 is 6 plus 1. That's gonna give you 7. Got it, guys? So again, thank you, Alfer, for always keeping your thumbs up, and Alexandra and Alex, right? Okay, so where was I? Okay, so again, keep in mind, right? The default is the chain method, right? This method over here. So get used to it. Get used to it. If you really want to compute, if you want to really make it do 2 times 3 first, then you have 2 choices. Then just input it like this: 2 times 3, and then you do the plus 1. Right? That would give you 7. Or you can also do 1 plus 2 times 3 parenthesis. You can press the parenthesis in your chain method calculator. It will also work like the one below. Okay, questions so far? So again, my advice is chain method. So we don't have to change at every single time. Questions, guys? Huwag na mahiya. Questions? Now, again, no one's using the HP12C, but if ever this is actually one of the biggest issues with HP12C. Their calculation method is very counterintuitive. I won't discuss it anymore because nobody's using it. But yeah, that's just one issue with HP12C. Questions before we move on? Everybody following? Madali pa lang, di ba? Wala pa lang. Parang masyadong mabagal pa ata eh. Okay, now let's go through actually using your calculators. Dun pa lang tayo sa basics. So far, if you just want to follow my advice, you just have to remember, marami ng strokes, di ba? But so far, you just have to remember how to reset your calculators and just work with it. That's the only thing you need so far. Okay. Now let's go to calculating time value of money questions. So in other words, calculating present and future values. Okay. if at any point in time, guys, if you think, because there's a chance, I'm always changing my share screen. So if at some point in time we're in, it seems like I'm talking about a different PowerPoint already, for example, and I'm showing Excel, then it might be because I'm sharing a different screen, and just inform me about that because I might not notice it. Okay. Okay. So for time value, for present value and future value function of the calculator, there's actually a specific set of keys to clear those particular variables on its own. Okay. So if you just want, again, in other words, if you just want to clear the time value of money variables, this is how you do it. But again, I don't want you to remember this anymore. You can ignore the slide because I'm asking you to reset your calculators anyway, right? So if you reset your calculators, it automatically resets all the variables, including TVM, time value of money. So again, no need to remember this slide. Just reset your calculators, okay? Okay, so let's look at this question over here. I'm gonna read it out loud. So you're a fund and you know that you need to make a lump sum payment of 5 million 10 years from now. And you want to invest an amount today, right? So that it will grow to the required amount. Okay. The interest rate is 6% a year, compounded monthly. How much should you invest today? Okay. Guys, for today, we'll just be focusing on the calculator, how to use your calculators. Most of the concepts, let's try to save it up for tomorrow and for next week. So please, you just like sort of follow what it needs to know. You don't really have to, in a way, you can memorize the concepts for now, but hopefully tomorrow you understand them so you don't have to memorize them, right? But we're just focusing on the calculators first. Okay, so what I did here is just I wrote down all of the relevant variables that were given to us by the problem, right? And I just wrote it down here on this next slide. Okay, so I'm just gonna go back for this first example only. I'm gonna show the connection. No? So for example, again, it says here that you need to make a lump sum payment of 5 million 10 years from now. So $5 million payment 10 years from now. So it's a future value, right? So future value 5 million. And then what's the next variable given? Current interest rates is 6% a year, compounded monthly. So 6% a year, compounded monthly. And then period is 10 years, obviously, because you need that 5 million 10 years from now. So 10 years for your period. Okay. Okay. So how do we go about this, guys? Do it with me. Everybody who has a calculator, do it with me. Okay. So first press 5 million. So 5,000,000, and then press FV. Okay. 6, press 6 for 6% interest rate. So press 6 IY. IY stands for interest rate per year, right? Again, it's 6, it's not 0.06. Okay, it's not 6%. You don't type the percent. It automatically assumes what you type in is in percent. So 6, then press IY. The IY is over there. Okay, and then so basically what we're doing so far is just we're inputting variables as we encounter them. So 5 million, that's how we input the future value, FV, 6IY. And then next one, we have to input the number of periods per year. Okay, so how do we input this? So press second, PY. PY stands for periods per year. And then press 12 for 12 periods per year. Then press enter to lock in the 12. And then press second quit. so that we go out of the periods per year function. And then lastly, we have to enter the number of periods. Okay, now the number of periods, this is a little bit tricky because it's not 10 anymore, right? Because again, we have 10 years, but it's asking us not for the number of years, but the number of periods. If there's 12 periods per year, and if there's 10 years, then 12 times 10 is 120 total periods. Okay, so we have to input 120 and then press M. And then we're done, right? So we already inputted all of the variables that we know. Hopefully it's enough. Hopefully we didn't make a mistake. So let's press CPT for compute and then PV for the present value. Because the problem is asking us how much you need to invest today. How much is the value today? So compute present value. What do you guys see? Hopefully you'll see a negative $2.748 million. Get it, guys? How many of you got it? Thumbs up, please. Can I see a thumbs up? How about the others? Okay, okay. How about the Alex, Owen, and Roke? Okay, okay, good. Okay. First question, okay? I'm gonna ask the question for you because usually this is asked, okay? What does the negative sign here mean? Okay, for now, it doesn't mean much yet. But later on, we're gonna be more sensitive to that. And siguro for now, I'm not gonna answer. I'm gonna hold off the answer until later, right? So that it's easier to understand. Okay, but for now, just keep it as is. Okay. Okay. Next question. Okay, let's do the next question. If you have any questions, guys, you can just feel free to ask me, stop me, right? But if not, I'm just gonna move on. Just butt in at any time, okay? Okay. Okay, next question. An institution offers you the following terms for a contract. You invest 2.5 million today, and the institution will pay you a lump sum 6 years from now at an 8% annual interest rate. What future amount can you expect? So again, as you go through a question, just write down the variables, or for me personally, what I do in the actual exam proper, or when you're answering your mock exams, what have you. When I see a variable, I try to underline them as I read them so I don't forget. Okay, so you can underline investment of 2.5 million or 6 years, 8% annual. You can underline those numbers so you don't forget. Okay, here I just wrote it down so that you can see it easily, right? So again, we just have to input the variables. Hopefully, if you input it correctly, and if you input the enough variables, then it will give you the right answer. Okay, so first one, we have to input 2.5 million. So 2500000. Guys, do it with me again, please. Then here, I'm gonna change the sign. You can do it blindly for now. I'm gonna explain it later on again. Okay. So 2.5 million, this is how you change the sign. You press the plus and the minus key here at the bottom, and then press present value. Let's input 8 and then press IY for interest rate per year. Again, not 8%, not 0.08. And then next one. Okay, question. So far, pause muna. How many of you guys reset your calculators just before this example? How many? Can I see a thumbs up? How many of you guys reset your calculators? Tatlo lang, yung iba yung reset. 4. Okay, 5. Okay, most of you, good. So, okay. If you reset your calculators, then you don't have to do this step anymore. You don't have to do the second PY1 enter, second quit. because the default is 1 period per year. Okay, so if you reset your calculator, it's automatically 1 period per year. Now, if you didn't, for whatever reason, you didn't reset your calculator from the last question, after the last question, you have to do this. You have to press this one, second POI, one enter, second quit, or else you're gonna get it wrong. So this is one example that this is one example of one of the thing that I mentioned a while ago, wherein even if you're, for example, inputting the correct strokes, but if you didn't enter these two, it will assume the previous question's assumption, which is 12, which is obviously wrong, right? Because this is annual compounding, so just 1 period per year. Okay, so next one. Okay, so again, if you reset your calculators, no need to do this, right? But if not, then you have to do the next 2 steps, okay? Do I hear somebody? Is there a question?
Sir, I have a question.
Yes.
What if I reset my calculator and still input the PY1? Will that compromise my calculation?
No, you're still gonna get it right.
Okay.
So if you reset your calculator and you input these 2 steps just to be sure, then you will still get it correctly. It's gonna be correct. But of course, you're gonna waste some seconds, right, doing that.
Thanks,
Okay.
sir.
And then next one, press 6N for 6 periods. Again, we don't multiply by 12 anymore because there's only 1 period per year and there's a total of 6 years. So 6 times 1 is 6. So that's 6N. And then again, compute future value to get our future value. And then you should get 3.967 million. Got it, guys? How many of you guys got it? Thumbs up, please. Sulitin natin yung thumbs up feature ng Zoom. If you have questions, you can ask it now. No questions so far? Okay. Okay. Yes. I heard somebody. Sino yun? Go ahead. Don't be shy. No one? Okay. Sige, kung wala. Okay. Notice here, if you inputted the negative sign here for the 2.5 million, you're gonna get a positive value. If you did not, you just input a positive 2.5 million for your present value, you're gonna get a negative 3.9 million. Okay, so at this point, maybe I can say something about it. What your calculator does is that it just balances your cash flows. Okay, it balances them out. It offsets everything to make all the cash flows, the total cash flows equal 0. So meaning, if this one is a positive cash flow, the 2.5 million, the future value will be a negative cash flow, and vice versa. That's the reason why, if you recall a while ago, if you input a positive cash flow here, it's gonna give you a negative cash flow for your present value. So that's the same thing that's happening here. Now, what's the relevance? Why did I do positive in the other, negative in the other? My general rule is that because now it doesn't really matter, right? I mean, the future value is 3.9 million. Whether you do positive, negative, it doesn't matter, right? But there will be some questions wherein the sign is very, very important. Meaning, let's say, for example, we're talking about net present value. It's different if you're gonna say the total, the net value of that asset is a positive 1 million or a negative 1 million. It's a big difference, right? So there will be some problems. We're gonna see that later on, wherein a negative value is obviously different from a positive value. So my best practice, my recommendation is, and it's not the same for everybody, okay? So if you don't want to follow it, that's okay. So you just have to have your own, you have to have your own convention so you don't get confused. You can't flip-flop, okay? So for me, what I do is that outflows are negative and inflows are positive. So parang intuitive, that's intuitive for me. So again, outflows are positive, outflows are negative, inflows, cash inflows, pag may pumapasok na pera, it's positive. Okay, so if we go back to the example here a while ago, just to tie it up, I said, okay, so now today I need to make an investment of 2.5 million. So I'm giving you 2.5 million. So it's an outflow on my perspective. So I'm investing 2.5 million, and after 6 years, I get back a certain value. So after 6 years, I'm gonna get back. It's a positive value after 6 years. It's a negative value today, right? So that's how I view it. So I don't get confused. Again, now it doesn't really matter because you know that the value is 3.9 million 6 years from now. It doesn't matter what the sign is. But eventually, in some other questions, it's gonna be very important. So for me, I just try to keep it. I just always use my convention. Okay. Okay, now let's go to the next question. If there's no questions from the floor. Okay, I'm gonna pause for 10 seconds to give you guys time to ask questions while I'm drinking water. Okay, no questions so far. Okay. So suppose you're considering purchasing a financial asset that promises to pay $1,000 per year for the next 5 years. So it's gonna pay you $1,000 per year for the next 5 years. The first payment is 1 year from now. The required rate of return is 12% per year. How much should you pay for this asset? Okay. So a little bit different variables, but not harder whatsoever, right? So let's look at the variables that we have. First, we have the 1,000. Now, this is not a present value, nor this is a future value. This is what we call the annuity value, or the annuity value, meaning the constant value that we'll be receiving every year. Again, more on the concept later on, but for now, let's focus on the variables and the keystrokes. So for your calculators, the variable is PMT, which stands for payment per year. So that's how you enter it. So press 1,000. Again, guys, do it with me. So 1,000 PMT, right? And then next one, we input the interest rate per year. So 12 IY, again, not 0.12, not 12%, right? But 12 IY. And then again, if you don't need to do this because it's either you reset your calculator, or anyway, the previous question, I'm sure you had to input PY1, right? But again, if not, then you have to do it. Yeah. And then number of periods is 5, right? 5 years, right? And then just press CPT present value. That would give you negative 3,604. So the only difference is you're pressing PMT. How many of you guys got it? Can I see thumbs up? Automatic na. Pag nagpatanong ako ng that you need to do, that we all need to do together. Very good. Everybody got it. That we all need to do. Once you're done, as soon as you're done, just give me the thumbs up so I can see. We're really adjusting on the fly. So, okay, very good, very good. Now notice again, if we're consistent on the signs, notice this is a negative sign for the present value, which makes sense because I have to pay you 3,600 today, and you're gonna pay me, it's gonna be cash inflow for me of $1,000 for the next 5 years. So it makes sense. It's consistent. It makes sense. Okay, but again, it doesn't matter for now, but eventually it's gonna matter. Okay. Next question. Okay. Now there's a special type. Okay, before that. So for this question, this is what we call an annuity. Okay, an annuity, meaning it's a series of cash flow that is constant. So 1,000 per year, 1,000 1 year from now, 1,000 2 years from now, 1,000 3 years from now, 1,000 4 years from now, 1,000 5 years from now. Okay, so it's a series of cash flows. 1,000 per year. Okay. There's a special kind of annuity. There's another kind of annuity. It's called annuity due. Okay. What's the difference? Okay. So the difference is the payments are at the start of the period. So let's read this question first and see how it is different. Okay. So same asset will pay you $1,000 per year for the next 5 years, but the first is payable immediately. If you recall, so the rest are the same. The rest are the same. If you recall, if you look at the last problem, it's exactly the same except the first payment is 1 year from now. Okay, so that's the only difference. Okay, now if the problem is silent, meaning if it just tells you the asset will pay you $1,000 per year for the next 5 years, that's it. How much should you pay? If the problem is silent, you always assume it's ordinary annuity. So this example over here on this line. But if it tells you that it's payable immediately or payable today or payable at once, anything that tells you explicitly that the payment is on this very day, not 1 year from now, not 12 months from now, then it's annuity due. Got it, guys? Okay, so I'm just gonna do it visual. Oops, what did I do? Okay, so let's do it again. So I'm just gonna, since I guess we have time, I'm just gonna draw it briefly just to, because this one is a bit tricky in terms of the concept. So how do I, can I annotate? Can I annotate?
Yes.
How do I annotate? Ayun, annotate. Okay, so for example, hopefully I can draw properly. Usually I draw this using the whiteboard, but yeah, whatever. So let's say we're here today. This is time 0. Okay, I'm gonna make it a bit thinner. You can see my drawing, guys.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And this is 5 years from now. Okay, right? If it's, so there's 5 periods, right? 1 year from now, 2 years from now, 3 years from now, and 4 years from now. So 1, 2, 3. Oh, you understand? Okay, 4. Okay. Now, if it's ordinary annuity, so the example a while ago, so you pay me 3,000. What was it? 3,600 today. Something 3,600 for today, and starting year 1, you're gonna get 1,000 positive 1 year from. So the first cash flow is 1 year from now, right? So that's 1,000, and then this is the second cash flow, 1K, and then the third, the fourth, and the fifth, right? So 1,000 per year for the next 5 years with the first payment 1 year from now. Got it? So what's the difference with the annuity due? The annuity due is, I'm just gonna erase this one. The annuity due is, how do I do it? Okay, because the first pay is payable immediately, the cash flow, oops. The cash flow would look like this. So first payment is payable immediately, and then after 1 year, then after 2 years, after 3 years, after 4 years. So again, so this cash flow figure is your annuity due. So notice in both ordinary annuities and annuity dues, you have 5 sets of $1,000 cash inflow. The only difference is the timing. For the, again, just to be super redundant, for the ordinary annuity, the payments are at the end of the periods. The first period is this one, right? The first year, the second year, the third year, got it? And so on and so forth. So the first year, the first payment for our ordinary annuity, the first payment, all the payments actually are at the end of the periods. End of this line here, end of this, and so on. So that's end of the period. For annuity due, it's at the start of the period, right? Start of that circle here, start of that, start of that, start of that. Got it, guys? So you understand the difference between annuity and ordinary annuity and annuity dues, guys? Get it? Okay. Questions so far? Questions? So I'm going to erase this now, okay? How do I erase this? How do I erase all? I think there's an erase all button. Okay, never mind. Okay, I mean clear all. I found it. Clear all drawn. Okay. Okay, give me a while. Just, okay. So now how do we compute annuity dues? Okay, so it's exactly the same. It's exactly the same, except we have to change just one setting. Okay, so question first, how many of you guys reset your calculators before just now? I mean before we did this one? Okay, unfortunately, if you reset your calculators, you have to input the variables again because nawala na sila, di ba? So you have to input it again. So 1000 PMT, 12 IY, 5N. If you did not reset, then you don't have to do it. We just have to input the next two lines, right? Which is, so guys, everybody do it now. For those who reset your calculators, 1000 PMT, 12 IY, 5N. And then press second, begin, the begin mode, and then press second. So what do you see when you press second begin? What do you guys see? End mode, right? Because the default is end mode, meaning end of the period, meaning ordinary annuity. Okay, these are all synonymous, right? Then what you do next, if you want to change to annuity due, is you change to second set. You press second set, sorry. What do you guys see? BGN. So now we're now at the begin mode, meaning it's computing for annuity due. Okay, and so we press second quit again. Notice whenever we're pressing the second function, we're accessing the second function, we have to press second quit at the end because to get back to the normal first level functions. Okay, and then press compute PV. What should you get? 4037 negative. Got it, guys? Thumbs up, thumbs up. Okay, good. Question so far? Okay, now, so obviously, if you need to compute for annuity dues, you need to know how to change the function, right? From ending mode to begin mode. However, if you don't want to memorize, there's another way to do it. Okay. So how do we do it? You remember the drawing? I shouldn't have erased it. You remember the drawing I made a while ago? You have 5 years, right? 5 cash flows. And then the ordinary annuity is the payments are at the end of it. Let me draw it again. Much easier. Give me some time. That's my son again. Okay, so time 0, time 5, 1. I'm not gonna label it anymore. 2, 3, and 4. So this is 1K, 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 1K. So this is for your ordinary annuity, right? What about your annuity due? What does it look like? Same, time 0, time 5. 5 years from now, meaning today, meaning 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. For annuity dues, again, the cash flows would look like this. Got it, guys? Now, okay, so how do we do this? If, for example, I don't want to use the begin mode in my calculator, what I can do, right? Imagine I don't press the begin mode, right? But these are my cash flows still, right? I'm computing, this is what I want to compute. This one over here, this guy over here. If I don't press second begin, effectively, what am I doing? I'm computing as if I'm getting the value of these 5 cash flows. Oops. Hirap. These 5 cash flows, right? At time -1, meaning 1 year ago. Right? If you think about it, right? If you just ignore these values at the bottom, if you ignore that, and I just shift everything one time period. If instead of thinking of the problem at time 0, I think of the problem at time -1, then the annuity due becomes ordinary annuity. Got it? So, meaning if I input ordinary annuity, same variable, the one that we did a while ago, hopefully it doesn't. Okay, if you remember a while ago, the answer was -3,600, right? So if I input that set of strokes, right? But I'm really wanting to solve this problem over here, then I'm gonna get the present value at time -1. Got it? So this is the value at time -1, 3,604. Now, that's not really the question, right? The question is asking us for the present value, meaning the value at time 0. So how do we get a value from -1 to a value from time -1 to a value at time 0? We just take the future value 1 year from now, right? We move it 1 year from now. So how do we do that? That's basically 3,604 times 1 plus the interest rate, 1 plus 0.12, right? Or 1.12. So 3,604 times 1.12, that should give me 4,037. Okay? Did that make sense, guys? Can I see a thumbs up? Sino nakasunod? Who were able to follow? If you're not able to, if you're able to, oh, lahat pala. If you're able to follow, very good. Because it means you don't have to remember how to change to begin mode. But if you didn't follow, then that's okay. You just change it to begin mode. That's also okay. So again, for me personally, I'm gonna do ordinary annuity and just multiply it by 1.12 at the end. Yeah, it's up to you if you want to use that or not. Another way to think about it is that, diba, these are, okay, this is the, let's go back to ordinary annuity, okay? Ordinary annuity, what the calculator is doing for you is that it's taking the cash flows and going back to, so may halong concepts na to, no? So I'm in a way explaining our concept for tomorrow already. But that's okay because I think we have enough time. So what we're doing, if we're doing ordinary annuity, is that we're taking all of the cash flows at future periods, and then we're discounting them back to present, right? And we know how to discount cash flows back to the present, right? We haven't discussed it yet. We can discuss it tomorrow, but basically we're just dividing it by the 1 plus interest rate, 1.12, right? This one, we divide it by 1.12 2 times. Okay, 1.12 squared, 1.12 cubed, 1.12 to the 4th power, 1.12 to the 3rd power. Just imagine, it's very hard to type. But so that's basically what we're doing for an ordinary annuity. So we're discounting the first cash flow 1 time, second cash flow 2 times, third cash flow 3 times, fourth cash flow 4 times, fifth cash flow 5 times. But for annuity dues, think about what's happening. The first payment, you're not discounting it anymore because it's already at time 0. So you're discounting it 0 times. The second cash flow, you're discounting it 1 time. The third cash flow, you're discounting it 2 times, and so on. So notice the only difference from the first discounting to the second discounting is that for the first one, you're discounting each of the cash flows 1 additional time. Okay, apologies for my son. You're discounting it 1 additional time. For the second set, it's 1 less time. So for you to take the value on the ordinary annuity to the annuity due, you just have to remove the 1 excess discounting period. How do you do that? Again, you multiply it by 1.12. It cancels out the numerator and from one of the discounting in the denominator. So it's instead of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it's going to be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Again, it's the same explanation as this one, okay? Different way of viewing it. Again, if you're following, all is well. If you didn't follow, then it's also okay. Okay? Are we clear, guys? Clear? Oops. Questions so far? Okay. Sige, let's do this one next. And for this one, it should be straightforward because very minimal difference na lang. So I'm gonna ask you to do this on your own first, okay? Before I show you the next slide. Please, if you have a copy of the slide, please don't cheat. So let's try to do this as a sort of an exercise, okay? So I'm gonna read the problem first. Solve it on your own first. Okay, a couple plans to set aside 20,000 per year, right? In a portfolio that's projected to earn 7% a year. Okay, the first contribution is 1 year from now. How much will they have at the end of 20 years? Okay, so compute for the future value. So can you guys do it? I won't show you the steps first. Try to do it on your own. And then when you get an answer that you're fairly comfortable with, give me a thumbs up. We have 1. No pressure. Nagpapahinga lang ako kasi masakit mo lalamunan ko. Okay, we have 2. We have 3. Guys, please do it, okay? The more that you practice, the more that you'll get used to using your calculators, and it's gonna be second nature to you. Maybe 15 more seconds, probably 30 more seconds. Questions so far about anything that we've discussed about about the exam once we finish everything, okay? Okay, I think we can move on now. So for those of you who were able to get it, then yeah, let's see what the answer is. It should be 819. How many of you guys got it? Can I see a thumbs up? Okay, great. Okay, so for those of you who didn't get it, yeah, it's just straightforward again. So 20,000 PMT, 7 IY. Again, you don't need to do the next 2 steps. 20N for the number of periods, then compute for future value. So the only difference is we're computing for future value instead of present value. And again, if you entered a negative outflow here, negative number here, it's going to give you a positive value and vice versa. Again, so far, it's not important yet because because it's clear, there's really no confusion. But later on, again, in one of our examples later, you're going to see the importance of the sign. But again, this one makes sense because here in this problem, at least, you have to pay them 20,000 a year for the next how many years? 20 years. And then after 20 years, you're going to get back a value. So negative cash flow for the next 20 years, positive cash flow at the end of everything. For this annuity due, again, hopefully you didn't reset your calculators yet. But if you did, you just have to enter it again. Don't worry, in the exam naman, they don't ask the same question twice, right? With just a minimal difference. So you won't encounter this one. But yeah, for illustration purposes, if it's annuity due, it's gonna be exactly the same, except you have to change the mode. Or what you can also do is that you can, again, take your future value there and then multiply it by 1.07, right? Because you're getting your values, your cash flows one period earlier. So the future value is the same. You're gonna have one more compounding period. So for me, again, personally, what I would do is that I will compute using the N mode and I will multiply it by 1.07. Whenever you're confused with cash flow problems, one tip I have is you can draw the timeline that I drew a while ago, right? So you can see let's say the connection between ordinary annuity and annuity due. And then if you have different cash flows, different signs, then it would help if you draw it. Especially if on the first try you didn't get it right, then you can draw it to see where you made the mistake. Questions so far? Okay, if there's no more question, let's go to the next set of variables. It's calculating Npvs and Irrs. Okay, so again, for this set of variables, there's a different set of keystrokes. But again, don't worry, because if you remember how to reset your calculators, then all is well. You can forget about this slide again. So again, that's the reason why I don't want you to remember how to clear variables, because there's different set of strokes for each variable. Instead, just reset everything altogether. Okay, so let's look at this problem first. You're considering a proposal for an investment wherein you need to invest 13 million today. Okay, and then for the next 4 years, you're gonna get these cash flows, the 3 million per year in cash flow for the next 4 years, and at the end of the 5th year, you're gonna get 10 million because your partner will buy you out for $10 million. Okay? Let's say the appropriate discount rate is 12%. Calculate the net present value and the IRR. Okay, never mind the MIRR or the modified IRR because it's not going to be asked in the exam. But just in case you want to do it, but only the Texas Instruments BA2 plus professional can compute for it. The ordinary Texas Instruments BA2 plus doesn't have the MIRR function. So, and it won't be asking the exam, so don't worry about it. Okay, so how do we input? So these are your cash flows as a summary. Again, notice now it's starting to become more important to differentiate negative cash flows and positive cash flows. For these types of questions, if you input the cash flows incorrectly, you're gonna get a wrong answer. Okay, so let's be consistent. Okay, so for this one, what I did was, again, following my convention, a negative number is a cash outflow. So you're investing 13 million today, so it's negative 13 million, and then positive 3 million because it's gonna pay you back. And then at the end of the 5th year, you're gonna get back again 10 million, so it's positive. Okay. Okay, so how do we input those variables? So press, guys, everybody do it with me. Press CF. What do you guys see? Unmute, please. What do you guys see? Press CF. The CF function is over here. Oops.
0.
What do you see? CF0, right? So CF0, para intuitive to. So that this is intuitive. CF0 means cash flow today at time 0. Cash flow at time 0. So what's the cash flow at time 0? It's 30. So once you see the CF0, press 13 million negative, change sign, enter. And then press down once. What do you guys see?
C01.
C01, which stands for the cash flow, the first cash flow. Okay, so what's the first cash flow? It's 3 million. Enter, and then press down once. What do you see? What do you see? F01, which stands for the frequency of the first cash flow. So how many times did it happen? Right? It happened 4 times, right? Year 1, 2, 3, and 4. So press 4 and then press enter. And then press down once again. What do you see?
CO2.
CO2. So again, you don't have to memorize that. It's intuitive. CO2 means second cash flow, right? So press 10 million and then press enter. Okay, then hold on for now. We're almost done. Then, so basically we already inputted everything, all of our cash flows, right? So press NPV, which is over here, somewhere in the upper middle part. And then what do you see when you press NPV?
I.
Okay? So it asks you for the interest rate per year. So what do you enter? 12, then enter. Again, not 12%, not 0.12, right? 12, enter. And then press down once. What do you see?
NPV.
NPV. So press compute. Press compute. You should, how many, okay, so how many of you got wait, don't reset first, we're not yet done. How many of you got 1.7 million, 786 million? Thumbs up, please. Can we see a thumbs up? Bakit konti lang? What happened to the others? Baka nag-thumbs up lang kayo without getting the right answer. Anyway, this is for you. There's no grade. I won't get mad. Okay. Okay. So we're not yet done. Okay. So now if we want to compute the IRR of the same set of cash flows, we press IRR over here and then compute. And then you should see an IRR of 16.42%. How many of you guys got it? Thumbs up, please. Okay, thank you. Questions so far? Okay. No questions? Again, for the MIRR, don't worry about it. I don't even think some of you, is anybody using the professional HP? No. BA2 plus professional?
Me, sir.
Sino yun? Who said that?
Jill.
Jill, hi. Yeah. Yeah, so if you can, once you're in IRR, press down once more. Then you should see I. Because for modified IRR, you need to input the interest rate also. So press 12, enter, and then press down once more. You should see mod. So that's modified IRR. But yeah, it won't really be asked. But just in case, at least you know how to do it.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Questions, guys? Okay. I'm gonna give you another tip. Okay. Notice we inputted a lot of zeros for this problem, right? So 13, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 3, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 10, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. Right? A lot of zeros. And the problem with a lot of zeros is sometimes we accidentally like press one less zero or one more zero. In that case, we're screwed. You won't get the right answer. Okay? So my tip is that when all of the values are big, right? You can drop off zeros, meaning you can remove zeros. So we can, kumbaga, our units will be, instead of in dollars, will be in millions of dollars. So instead of entering 13 million, 3 million, 10 million, we just enter 13, 3, and 10. Okay? So 13, enter, 13, change sign, enter, 3, enter, 10, enter. Okay? Few things to note. Okay? First one, you have to do it consistently. If you did it for one cash flow, you have to do it for all cash flows. Meaning, if you drop 6 zeros for the first cash flow, you have to do it for all of the cash flows. You can't do 6 zeros here and 3 zeros there. That's going to give you a wrong answer. Second thing, you don't drop zeros for the interest rate and for the number of periods or for the number of the frequency. You just do it for the cash flows. And then last thing to note is that if you drop the zeros, your final answer would also be in the same units. So if, again, you drop 6 zeros, meaning you're thinking about in millions of dollars, your final answer will be 1.79. Okay. Now, so you should know that it's not $1.79, it's 1.79 million. Okay. So if your answers, the multiple choices, the choices are sensitive, you need more than 1.79. What I will do at the end, I'm just gonna multiply it by a million. So isang beses lang ako mag-multiply. Yeah. And if the answers are not sensitive, then most likely you don't even have to multiply it by a million. But just to be sure you get the exact answer, I'm gonna multiply the end by a million. Clear, guys? Again, if you understood what I said, then you can definitely do it. I encourage you to do it. If you didn't follow, then don't worry about it. You can just input it as usual. Yeah. So for me, I personally do this to avoid errors. Okay. Questions? Okay, for the next one, I'm gonna give you another maybe 2 minutes, 3 minutes to do this on your own, right? These are the cash flows. Now, I didn't anymore write the problem for it. So these are just the cash flows. And I just want you to compute NPV and the IRR, okay? Given these cash flows and the cost of capital of 10%. Guys, can you guys do it? And give me a thumbs up when you're done. The answers are there also, so you can see them. Alex is done. Good job. Anybody else? Min, got it too. Christine. Okay na rin yung Zoom, ano? At least nakikita ko yung pangalan niya. Because obviously in class, I am very weak with names, so hard for me to remember names. Yeah. Yun nga lang, dito, pangalan lang, walang mukha. Bukas, guys, ha? put on your, you freshen up, put on a nice, shirt. You don't have to stand up naman, so you can wear shorts. I'm sure lahat ganyan, di ba? So, yeah. Are we good? Do you need more time? Okay, let's do it together. Ro, good job. Let's do it together for those of you who weren't able to get it. Again, my advice would be, if you didn't get it, reset your calculator just now, so you can start with a clean slate. Okay. So let's do it. First, press cash flow to access the cash flow function, and then you should see CF1, CF0, sorry. So press 8,000, change sign, enter. You have to change sign, okay? This is very important, or else you will get it wrong. Press down once for the first cash flow, 2,000, enter. Press down twice. Why am I pressing down twice? Because I don't want to change the frequency of the 2,000. The default frequency is always 1. So you don't have to enter 1 anymore. Some of you might have entered it again, but you don't have to do it. So if you press down just once, you will see F01. You can enter 1, but the default is already 1. You can see 1 is the default, even if you don't press anything. So you can press down once more. So maging twice na. So 3,000, enter. Twice, 4,000, down twice, 4,000, enter. Down once, because I want to change the frequency of 4, right? So 2, enter, right? Press down once, 1,000, enter. Then press NPV. Then it will ask you for the interest rate, 10, enter. Press down, press compute. That should give you the NPV. And then for the IRR, press IRR, then compute. Then that should give you 22.19. Okay. I have one question that usually people ask. Okay, what if instead of pressing this line over here, sorry, the 4,000, and then I change the frequency to 2, instead of doing that, let's say you forgot how to do it, or you just forgot to do it, right? So instead of pressing, what you did is, okay, so 3,000, enter, down twice, 4,000, enter, down twice, 4,000, enter, down twice, 1,000, enter. You get it? So instead of changing the frequency to 2, you just manually inputted 4,000 twice. That's also perfectly okay. Okay, got it, guys? What else? And again, I'll be very clear. Hopefully for the last 2 examples, it's already very clear that if you incorrectly inputted the sign, for example, let's say for the first cash flow, the 2,000 cash flow, if you incorrectly inputted it as a negative value, it will give you a wrong answer. Because obviously there's now a difference, right? If the project requires you to pay up 2,000 after 1 year, or if it gives you back 2,000 in 1 year, there's a difference, right? So sign is very important. Also, for the net present value, obviously the sign is also very important, because if it's a net present value of 2,000 in this case, right? If it's positive, meaning it's a valuable project, right? We're gonna talk about the concepts tomorrow in more detail, and so general rule: if NPV is positive, you push through with the project. If it's negative, you don't do it. So obviously the sign is very important. So again, I highly encourage you to have your own set of convention and just to stick with it. Okay, so you don't get confused. Questions, guys? Teka, may na-miss ba ako? Again, one alternative also, you can drop all the 3 zeros each. So -8, 2, 3, 4, 4, 1 na lang. Mas madali. Right? That also works. What else? Yeah, I think that's about it. Questions, guys? Okay. One more thing. Sorry, I forgot. If, for example, the second cash flow at time 0, if for example this is $0, meaning there's no cash flow on the second year, right? What do we do? If that's the case, you have to input $0 as your second cash flow. You cannot skip it. So meaning, so I'm just gonna go back. So for example, let's say all is the same except this one is, so let's do it. We might extend a little bit, but that's okay, I think, for everybody. At least sulit yung binayad nyo. So for example, this one, let's change it to 0. Let's say this one is 0, right? Everything would be the same except this one, you have to input 0. Okay, this one is the correct solution, okay? You have to input 0, right? What you can't do is do 2000 and then you might say that, okay, there's no cash flow next after 2000. The next cash flow is already 4000. So I'm going to remove these entire step altogether. I'm going to go from 2000 to 4000. That's going to be wrong. Why? Because that would look like so this will give you a wrong answer, okay? Why? Because if you input the cash flows this way, it's as if your cash flows are like this. Okay, I'm just gonna write it over here. Time 0, it's still negative 8,000. Time 1, it's still 2,000. Time 2, it's gonna be 4,000. And then gonna be 4,000 here, and then gonna be 5,000 here. So you only have 4 periods. So if you entered your cash flows this way, again, just to say it for the 3rd time, it's as if you're computing the net present value of this one, which is obviously different from the net present value of this one. Because why? Simply because the cash flows here and the cash flows here are off by 1 compounding period. Got it, guys? So please, if there's a 0, minsan tricky siya. Again, the exam is generally not tricky, but just in case there's a 0 in the middle, make sure you input the 0. Questions, guys? Questions? Going once? Going twice?
Just a
Yeah.
quick question. I'm not sure if I missed it, but on the next slide, there's an MOD.
Yeah. Okay.
And
That's the modified IRR. Again, yeah, that's MIR.
Okay.
That's the MIRR. That's the modified IRR. Again, you don't need it for the exam.
All right.
It won't be asked in the exam, and only the Texas Instruments BA2 Plus Professional would have that function anyway. If you're not
Alright.
using the professional series, you won't be able to compute.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, sure. Any other questions? Okay, last step. Konti na lang to. Mabilis na lang to. Because it's the concepts are the same, right? So let me just quit. Okay. And then, okay. So the last one for today is performing statistical analysis, right? Okay, so this is how you clear the data, the variables for this function. Again, you don't have to remember it for the 10th time. Just reset your calculators. You'll be good. Okay. So how do we do so? I'm just gonna go through the example straight. We're gonna go straight to the example because it's easier to explain that way. Okay, because if it's hard to explain, but it's gonna be intuitive, trust me. Okay, so let's say you want to calculate the variables, statistical variables, given the following data set. Okay, these are your numbers, and so let's do so. You want to analyze those data, get the statistical values. Okay, so what do we do? How do we do it? I just wrote down the numbers again on this slide, at the top part of this slide. Okay, and then so let's do it together, guys. Okay, and again, unmute your microphone so you can shout out, because I don't have a calculator with me, so I can't see the screen. Okay, so everybody press second data. What do you see?
X01.
X01. So that's the first value of X, right? X01. So first value of X. So what's your first X value? It's 10. So press 10 and then enter. And then press down once. What do you see? Just once. What do you see?
Y01.
Y01. So the first Y value. In this particular case, we only have values for X, right? There's just one set of numbers, one value, one set of numbers. So it's not a pair of numbers. So we only use the X. So we don't need to change the Y value. So we go press once. So sorry, we go press down one more time. Okay. So what do you see?
X0.
X02, which is the second value of X. Thank you. So that would be 1, and then enter, and then press down twice again. Then you don't have to say it anymore. It should be X03, 14, enter. Guys, everybody do it with me, okay? Press down twice, 5, enter. Press down twice, 19, enter. Press down twice, 1, enter. Okay, then we're done with inputting the values. Okay, so what do we do next? We press second and then stat. The stat is the number 8. So second stat. What do you see?
Lin.
Lin. Yeah, that's not what we want. Okay, we have to press second. We're gonna go to a specific set of variables under the function 1v. So meaning single variable. So press second set repeatedly until you see 1v. I think it's 4 times, but correct me if I'm wrong. So press second set and until you see 1v. How many times? Is it 4?
4 times.
Okay. If you missed it, for example, you press it fast and you missed it, you just press it again, it will go around until you see 1v again. Okay, so 4. So once you're at 1v, once you can see the 1v on your screen, once you can see the 1v displayed on your screen, just press the down arrow button, up and down. Actually, it works both ways. Just press the down button to browse through the results. Got it, guys?
Yes.
Okay, so the first thing that you'll see, so I'll just discuss the results, okay? If you press down once, you'll see N. N means the number of X, the number of data that you have, the number of numbers, okay? In this case, we have 6, right? 6 numbers, so N equals 6. So just to maybe check whether you input everything correctly, and then press down once more, I think you will see, what will you see? X, is it X bar or sigma X? Di ko alam ano yung order. X bar?
X bar.
X bar. X bar is the average of the numbers. Okay, so the sum divided by 6. Okay, that's 8.33. So just in case you forgot how to get the average, you can do that. Obviously, we know how to compute the average much faster, right? But let's go down one. Let's press down one more time. What do you see? SX, right? Right? So SX is the standard deviation of the 6 numbers. Okay? And then you go down one, press down one more time. You should see sigma X. That's also the standard deviation of X. But what's the difference between XX, SX, and the sigma of X? You'll learn about this more tomorrow, but long story short, the SX, that's the sample standard deviation. Sigma X is population standard deviation. So again, we're going ahead of ourselves, but like, okay lang kasi overtime naman, pasulit. Sorry, Trisha, again. But the only difference is, if you look at the formula, again, we can discuss tomorrow, but if you look at the formula, the denominators are different. One is divided by n, the other one is divided by n minus 1. In particular, the sample standard deviation is divided by n minus 1. So that's the reason why it's a little bit bigger at 7 versus 6.7. Okay, then press down one more time. You should see the summation of X, right? the summation of x, that's the sum of the 6 numbers. So just in case you forgot how to add, that's how you add. And next one, probably a bit more useful, summation of x squared, which is basically the sum of the squares. So 10 squared plus 1 squared plus 14 squared plus 5 squared plus 19 squared plus 1 squared is 684. Okay? So actually, probably the more important variables for this one is just this, either the 2 standard deviations of x, and maybe the summation of x squared. Sometimes it's also important for calculating variances, covariances, but yeah, probably the most important is just the standard deviations, no? Right? So you don't have to manually do it if you forgot, if it's a lot of numbers, right? Yeah, that's basically it. We're done. Any questions? Any questions about the calculator? Anything that you'd like to ask? How about questions for the exam in general, for the preparation, for tomorrow's class, for the rest of the review program? I think we have Rochelle here. Maybe she can also help answer some of your questions if you have some. Questions, guys? Wala? Everything is clear for today? No questions, guys? Okay. Sige. Yeah, so if there's no more questions, then I guess I'm just gonna, let me just say a few words, and then I don't know if Rochelle wants to say something else. Okay, so for tomorrow, we're gonna see each other again, I think 1:30 to 3, for questions for the first part of quantitative methods. So please, I know it's already Saturday and it's already Saturday lunch. So, but my advice or my request would be for you guys to try to read up on the lesson already for tomorrow, and so that when tomorrow comes along, and diba, you have your video session in the morning, at least you won't have to absorb all of the information fresh tomorrow. I mean, some of them you can already understand today, and just focus on the more difficult questions tomorrow. And then, and please, if you have any questions, better if you already write them down as early as today, or even while you're watching the video tomorrow. If you have a paper in front of you, that would be very good. At least you can write down your questions already while you're watching the videos. Yeah, and please, so tomorrow, hopefully there's gonna be more questions coming from you guys, so we can make it worthwhile. You're all very good today. I think all of you participated, so that's very good. This turned out, better than I expected to be. Thank you to those who opened their videos. At least I don't feel like talking to a computer. Yeah, what else? Yeah, so see you tomorrow. Rochelle, are you here? Do you need to say something? Do you want to say something, or?
I have a last question.
Oh, yeah, sure.
So, is there a possibility that the review session will be recorded? Like, if in case we want to go back, if we miss.
That I wouldn't know. Trisha, Rochelle, could you answer that question? Could they record or could they have a copy of the record of this video of the videos?
We can request from the CFA if we miss like the session.
Rochelle or Trisha, are you here?
Maximize yung time with the family.
Rochelle?
Tapos kung mag-back to normal na.
Teka, wala pa eh. Wala sila. Trisha, are you there? Or hindi pa nila alam yung sagot? Kasi this is a first for everyone, so I don't know how they want to do it.
Maybe I can mail Trisha instead, sir.
Yeah. Maybe we'll just probably get back to you on that one. Kasi wala,
Okay.
hindi sila. Or baka they're not on their tables.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Any other questions? But I think my advice would be don't rely on it. Kasi sometimes that's also one of my weakness, diba? If I know that the video is gonna be recorded, I don't pay attention as much, right? Because I can view it again anyway. So, but what happens is after you don't have enough time to view it anyway, so you're not gonna view it again. So
Yeah.
for some of the meetings I have over Zoom, I record it, but I've never once listened to it the second time. So wala. Ganun talagang buhay.
Yeah,
but
just-
yeah.
Concerned about that, sir, because I'm working at night, US shift, so
Yeah, I understand. But just maybe email or get in contact with Trisha or Rochelle na lang
okay.
for your particular concern.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, guys, before we end this one? I don't, parang wala na silang sasabihin, so I think we can end it soon. Any other questions before we end?
Charles, I'm sorry. What was the question? I
Michelle,
got out
hello.
of the room. Yes.
Okay. The question was, could they have access to the recorded video now? If, for example, if for any reason they have to miss the session, could you give them a recorded video, or what would be the process there?
Okay. We'll give an announcement na lang in our Viber group about it. We'll see what we can do, because for our actual classes, we'll be showing you videos, which some of you, if you are a December 2020 review student, because the June 2020 exam has been postponed, right? So the June 2020 review students are now included in the current review class that we have. So the two groups have different package. So for December 2020 review students, the video that we're going to show is also accessible to them. But for June 2020, these videos that we're gonna use for online class are not included in their package. Now for Q&A, we can record it here naman. The actual Q&A session na lang. Tama ba, Trisha? No, we can record it here and simply provide them a link, if ever. Trisha?
Yes po.
Yeah, I think you can record through Zoom. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So if that is something that we can arrange technically, then definitely why not naman. So but only for the Q&A part.
Rochelle, for the video, di ba tomorrow you'll be like hosting a Zoom conference also to watch the videos with everyone?
Yes.
So meaning even if for the June participants, they can also participate there, even if
Yes.
they don't have access on their own.
Yes, that's why
Okay.
we asked them to join all sessions na, because they had 7 sessions, and not actually 7 but 14 sessions in total, because one session is the 3-hour lecture. So they did 14 sessions before, but we're asking them to join pa rin kasi sayang naman because they won't have an access to this weekly class.
Got it. Okay, yeah. So I think you answered the question. Any other questions, guys? Rochelle, do you want to say anything before we end?